Have you ever committed to something with your whole heart, only to realize later that it no longer feels right? And instead of excitement, it brings anxiety, pressure, and dread? And then the real battle begins. Not with the thing itself, but with the fear of giving up. Because if you're anything like me, you don't quit. Well, or at least I don't quit anymore. Because here's the truth. When I was growing up, I actually quit a lot of things. I never really did the deep work back then to understand why. But looking back, I think it had a lot to do with things feeling harder than I expected and, not fully believing in myself yet. There were horseback riding lessons, guitar lessons, even tennis lessons. All things I started and then walked away from. You want to hear something funny? The full circle part? Today, one of my happiest, most joyful times of the week, the entire week, is when I'm on the tennis court. So, yeah, quitting used to mean something very different to me. Last year, I put something big, something huge on my vision board. I was going to write a book, and I told everyone I wanted to tell, everyone in my life. It felt aligned, it felt meaningful. People had actually been telling me for years, Jodi, you need to write a book. And if I'm really being honest, the thought of sharing my personal stories, of doubting less and daring more, and seeing my name on a personal growth book, that lit me up. So I decided this is the year. At the beginning of March 2025, I hired my friend Jill as my book coach. She's accomplished, she's a journalist, and she gets me. She completely understands my mission. I truly believed this was it. This was my time. But almost immediately, something felt off. There was no excitement. There was no creative flow. Instead, I felt anxiety, stress, a heaviness every time I sat down to write. At first, I told myself the story we tell ourselves all the time, right? This is just hard. Hard things are uncomfortable. Push through. And listen, I know how to do hard things. I've done a lot of them. But this, I don't know, this just felt different. Still, I didn't walk away right away. It took me a while. And here's why it took me almost 3 months to pull the plug. Because I needed to be really honest with myself. I needed to know, without a doubt, that I wasn't walking away just because it felt hard. That I wasn't quitting because I was uncomfortable, scared, or doubting myself. So I stayed. I stuck it out. I tried different approaches. I gave myself space. I pushed and paused. I asked myself hard questions. I listened to my body. I paid attention to what happened every single time I sat down to write. And instead of the anxiety easing, it got louder, screaming at me. And that's when I knew this wasn't about resistance. This was about misalignment. And I'm going to pause here for just a second because you're here listening to this, and maybe you're thinking, okay, but how do I know the difference for myself? And I'm going to tell you, you're not weak and not confident for asking that. This is exactly the kind of conversations we have inside the Dare On membership. Not in a dramatic overhaul your life way, but in a real honest midlife woman way. We talk about how to tell when something is stretching you versus quietly draining you. And I'll share more at the end, but I wanted you to know that this kind of support, it exists, especially when you're in the messy middle of not knowing it. So I got quiet. I stopped forcing and I turned and went inward. And what I realized changed everything. I didn't hate the book. I didn't doubt my ability. I hated the process. I loved the idea of having written a book. I did not love the act of writing one. Boom, mind blowing. Might even say a mic drop moment. I was trying to force myself into a dream that looked good on paper, but absolutely did not feel good in my body and in my soul. And on June 10th, after almost 3 months of anxiety, I sent Jill an email, and the subject line said, I'm letting go of the book. Ah, relief. But let me be clear, that email was not easy because here's the thing. I don't give up. But this wasn't quitting. This was choosing honesty over ego, alignment over expectation, peace over pressure. So right now, I want you to lean in, lean in closer. Turn off any noise in the background because here's what I want you to hear right now. Quitting is walking away because something is hard and uncomfortable before you've even given yourself a real chance. Letting go is recognizing that something no longer serves who you are now, even if it once did. Quitting, quitting comes from fear. Letting go comes from clarity. And the longer we ignore that clarity, the louder and stronger our anxiety gets. So let me ask you, have you ever kept pushing toward a goal, even though your body was screaming, no? Have you ever stayed committed to something because you were afraid of what it would mean to stop? Have you ever confused perseverance with self-betrayal? Yep, me too. Midlife isn't about proving how much we can endure anymore. It's about choosing what actually feels aligned. We're allowed to change our minds. We're allowed to evolve. We're allowed to go and let go of dreams that no longer fit the woman we've become. That's not failure. That's wisdom, my friends. So here's my dare for you today. Ask yourself honestly, am I pushing because this is stretching me in a good way or because I'm afraid of being seen as someone who gives up? And if it's the second one, maybe it's not quitting you need. Maybe it's permission to let go. And if you're craving support as you sort through that, real conversations, real women, no pressure, that's what the Dare On membership is here for. We're a circle of women supporting each other. Doors are open for 5 more days, and just in time to address that awakening inside all of us. You'll find the details in the show notes. And listen, no matter what you choose, I'm really glad you're here. And I hope today helped you trust yourself a little more. Dare On.